have a good time playing football together.
We're not hoping to win, we expect to win.
Every team is unique, every team is different. But the one thing that is similar is going out there and competing for, a Lombardi trophy.
We put the work in. I think this team's ready to go.
Welcome in, everyone, to the Cardinals post-game show. Lisa Matthews, Kyle Odegard once again here with you, and we are talking about a victory on the road to start 2020. They had to make it crazy. They had to make a wild one for week one, right, Kyle?
What an impressive victory on the road, the defending NFC champions. What resolve to come back and win that game.
Well, we have lots to cover, so let's dive right into the highlights, how the Cardinals got the win here. Now, San Francisco got things started early with a field goal and then a 76-yard touchdown by Mostert. But then it was a spark by the special teams, exactly what they needed. Ezekiel Turner with the block, and Captain Gardeck recovers exactly what they needed there, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, they were struggling early on, and to get the ball back at the 10-yard line, and the next play, Chase Edmonds takes a little pass. Great stretch for the pylon to get the Cardinals on the board. They were struggling early, but they stayed in the game because of that big play by Zeke Turner and Chase Edmonds.
Yeah, defensively, I mean, they played one heck of a game. You see this fourth down stop here by the two newbies, Devon Kennard and Devondre Campbell here. Huge stop at the goal line.
The Cardinals' front seven is so much better this season. You can see it. It's just a deeper team overall, but those two guys made their presence felt right away.
Now here we are. It's 10-13. Kyler Murray. I said, Russ, is that you? This is a 22-yard rushing touchdown for Kyler Murray. I mean, that really obviously ignited what this offense can do. Not only, I mean, he struggled a little bit, obviously, in the passing game to start it off, but with his feet, what he can do for this offense, it's undeniable.
That was so critical. Like you said, he did have some issues throwing the ball, but, man, he was tough to stop. And the 49ers came back right away. They got the touchdown back, and then the Cardinals turned it around. It was a frenetic fourth quarter, but DeAndre Hopkins had a humongous game. Obviously, that play was the play of the game. Cardinals score, and then hold on at the very end.
Yeah. There's Drake cleaning it up there. Obviously, that Hopkins, he was a little short there, but he just, during this game, showed what he could do. Obviously, here's Murphy with the stop, and he was actually...
Who was my birdwatch?
Exactly. He was your player to watch in this game. He comes up big. Second year for him, obviously, and in this defense. It showed up here today. The Cardinals get the victory, 24-20. Kyle, after last season, playing them so tough, but coming up short, how important is a win like this for their confidence?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this team's potential all offseason, and to see it come together, I mean, you just didn't see a big weakness on the Cardinals throughout the game. They weren't super crisp throughout, but adding so many pieces, you could see what DeAndre Hopkins meant to this team, having the guys on defense. The defense played great after that first quarter, but yeah, it's a humongous win. It's a division win already, a win against a team that almost won the Super Bowl last year, and you did it on the road.
Exactly. That is huge when you just think of the grand scheme of things and the confidence for this team. Now let's take a look at the FedEx air to ground stats, the quarterback comparison. Obviously, Kyler Murray, he's a perfectionist at his craft, so we're looking here at his numbers versus Garoppolo. I mean, he really was lethal on the ground here today.
Yeah, the 91 rush yards, and that was brought down because of the two kneel downs at the end. He actually had 100 basically, and the 49ers have such an elite secondary with Richard Sherman, and their safeties are tough. So those are actually pretty decent passing numbers when you compare what guys did last year against the Niners. Overall, a very impressive quarterback performance.
All right, let's take a look at the score here. Breaking up the stacks within the game. Break here. We'll stand by and come back shortly for you.
We're going to have a good time playing football together.
We're not hoping to win, we expect to win.
Every team is unique, every team is different. But the one thing that is similar is going out there and competing for, a Lombardi trophy.
We put the work in. I think this team's ready to go.
Welcome in everyone to the Cards post-game show, and Kyle, we are talking about a victory to start this 2020 season. The Cardinals get the win 24-20 in San Francisco, and they had to make it a wild one, Kyle.
There was so much question about could this team translate the potential from the paper to the field. You just saw it. They did it.
They sure did, and they sure made things interesting here as we take a look at how this game transpired in our game highlights. San Francisco gets on the board first off the bat, a 76-yard touchdown by Mostert, and this is the play that they needed by special teams to really get the spark going. Zeke Turner blocked punt, and then Captain Gardeg with the recovery there, and it really sparked things for them to then lay up this Chase Edmonds touchdown.
It was a little ugly early on, but Chase Edmonds made that big play to keep the Cardinals close, and you just realized that this was going to be a pretty big dogfight. They'd have to figure things out on defense, and then obviously the big fourth down stop at the goal line. I mean, if the 49ers score there, they're starting to roll. Devondre Campbell and Devon Kennard both played really well in this game.
Yeah, the two newbies made a huge goal line stop there, and here we are, 10-13. And I said, hey, is this Russ out there? Kyler Murray with a 22-yard rushing touchdown, making it 17-13.
He really showed off his legs all game. I mean, his passing was okay, but it was really his legs that hurt the 49ers in this one.
San Francisco then answers back. McKinnon walks in for the touchdown. San Francisco then up 20-17 with 8:38 left in the game.
And you wondered if the Cardinals could respond right here. And DeAndre Hopkins, great game overall. Huge play here. Got them down to the 1-yard line. Kenyon Drake follows it up, has the 1-yard touchdown, made it look easy. And all of a sudden you start thinking, is this upset going to happen? And
it didn't, because your prediction for your star of the game here, Byron Murphy, year 2 in the system, making plays to start the game. He was the number 2 cornerback throughout the game. Yeah, great job by Byron Murphy. You can see how excited the Cardinals are to win this game, to start the season 1-0, especially on the road against the defending NFC champions, a team that nearly won the Super Bowl in last January, and here you are beating them to start to 1-0. And you look at it too, looking at the 2 games in 2019 and how close they were to closing it out and having this victory. What does it do for the confidence for these guys coming home 1-0? I think it's huge. I mean, there was a lot of excitement about this team and what they could do, but you hadn't seen it yet on the field. And I think showing what they did against a team that was that good, that's going to put everybody on notice. The Cardinals are going to be a darling this week, and now they just have to continue to do it. Like you said, it took some time to get things going offensively for Kyler Murray, and he's the perfectionist at his craft. But let's take a look here at the QB breakdown here presented by FedEx Air to Ground. The comparison between Garoppolo. I mean, he killed them with his feet. Yeah, I mean, he basically had 100 rushing yards. It came down a little bit because of the late kneel downs, but really great with his feet. Even 26 for 40 for 230 yards. Those aren't huge numbers, but against a secondary as good as the 49ers have, that's a pretty solid job. The offense didn't explode in this game, but the 49ers have been able to really hold teams down last year, and this was a really nice offensive performance, especially after the slow start. And like we said, he killed them with his feet. Let's take a look at the Toro ground stats between Kenyon Drake, Chase Edmonds. Let's not forget about Chase Edmonds here. And the Cardinals threw the ball the first 9 times in the game, and then finally they started running, and to great success. 36 carries, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like you said, 3-headed monster. Kenyon Drake was doing it. Chase Edmonds showed a great burst, had the touchdown catch, and then Kyler, like we said, fantastic day on the ground. He wanted to run more this season, and he really showed it in this game. Well, like I said, do we have a tweet yet from Matthew Berry? Shoulda, coulda, woulda started Chase Edmonds. You should have started them all this week. Let's take a look at the overall team stats versus the 49ers here today. 180 rushing yards. I mean, yes. So one of my keys was a balanced offense. Like you said, it took some time to get things going on the ground. Here we see a little bit more balance at the end of the day.
And to have 400 total yards against the San Francisco defense is really impressive. And that fourth quarter has to have people so excited about the potential of this offense. This is a team that is hard to move the ball against, and the Cardinals figured out something in that second half. Maybe the plan was just keep giving it to DeAndre Hopkins, but between him and Kyler Murray, unbelievable performance.
Well, with D-Hop, and I'm sure we'll get more into it later in this show, how much of his presence obviously is felt here and what kind of impact he can make in this offense just to get things going, the spark that they needed. Of course, there's Larry Fitzgerald, too, who's always sure-handed, but just having D-Hop for this offense.
Yeah, and you can tell that the 49ers didn't try to take him out of the game. They weren't bracketing him in coverage, so Kyler Murray said, thank you. I'll just keep throwing the ball to DeAndre Hopkins. Career high in catches in his very first game with the Cardinals, and like we said pregame, is he going to have a big game because he's with a new team and a new quarterback? Didn't bother him one bit.
Perfect segue, Kyle, because he is our SRP Power Performer of the game. There's no denying the impact that he has for this offense. D-Hop making his Cardinals debut. It felt here, definitely.
Easy choice. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is the game changer. He was as advertised. Everything we thought he could be, he became. And, I mean, just
14 receptions, 151 yards.
Not a huge catch average at 10.8, but he was so dependable on those third downs. Just such a critical piece. The Cardinals didn't have this player last year, and now they do.
All right, well, the Cardinals get the win, 24-20. Let's take a look at the scores around the league here. We weren't able to pay attention too much, obviously, to what happened, so let's take a look here around the league. We were paying attention closely to that Seahawks game. They end up winning 38-25. And then down to that Washington game against the Eagles, who the Cardinals will face at home here in Week 2, 27-17. Anything else stand out to you, Kyle?
I think knowing that Washington played well, the Cardinals have to pay attention to that. They just had a big win on the road against San Fran, and everybody's going to be really excited about that. But they know they got to turn around and get ready for Washington. That's a game that they very well should win. And then if you win that one, you start feeling really good about yourself. But you can't have a letdown after such a big upset victory.
Yeah, so they return home for 2, I believe, correct? Mm-hmm. So Week 2, Washington. Week 3,
Detroit.
Against the Lions here at home, quote-unquote home.
Yeah.
Obviously, again, still without fans. And then they head on the road.
Yeah, the going on the road will be tougher, and this is why, I mean, maybe not. They just did it against the Niners, but coming home, it feels like the way they played in this game, it just has a lot of potential to be a good season. I mean, the Cardinals only won 5 games last year, but they're certainly on the right track, and it's impressive where they are at.
Well, let's head into the winning locker room. Let's hear from Buda Baker post-game here.
The defense with 2 big fourth down stops, the one on the goal line, and then obviously to end the game. What can you say about those 2 sequences?
Yeah, I mean, just not wanting the offense to get a touchdown, you know. We always talk about if they get in the red zone, let's force field goals. Let's not give them to give us touchdowns or get touchdowns scored against us. And that's what you saw. And the fourth down stop, Murph made a great play in the end of the game on an out on Trent Taylor. And it was great. It was a call where he was supposed to be outside leverage, and he was outside leverage, and he got the PBU, and, you know, that got us the game. So it was definitely exciting.
Buda, what'd you think of Kyler Murray's game overall and just the scrambling things that he did today?
Oh, yeah, man. That guy was running today. You guys saw him. He was running. The 49ers defense, front 7, is a great front 7, one of the best in the league. And, you know, our O-line did a great job of trying to tame him. And Kyler, you know, he did his thing. He ran the ball. He did what God blessed him with, which is being very fast. And, you know, he got us out of a few first downs. And I was very excited for Kyler. And like I said, very excited.
All right, now we have the coach. Let's hear what he has to say following this 24-20 victory. Coach?
That first one against the defending NFC champs.
Oh, man, it feels great. You know, 49ers is a great team in our division, like we said, and we play them 2 times a year. Back hungry when we play them again.
one game condition like you would be normally, I don't think, but both fought their tails off. So I was just impressed by the effort on that field today.
Hey, Cliff, from your standpoint, how much did DeAndre Hopkins change the game in your eyes and when you're calling plays for him and then creating space on the field?
Yeah, he's a tremendous talent. I mean, for him to, get his deal done and dive in like that, I think he and Kyler are just going to continue to build a relationship and get on the same page with some stuff. But he's a playmaker. He wants the ball. He wants to win first and foremost, and you sense out on the sideline. And it's fun to be around. It's fun for our guys to see that type of passion and that type of effort when he's out there.
Hey, Cliff, it seems like last year that's the kind of game that you would have found a way to kind of lose. It seems like you just found a way to win this time. I mean, did you feel that way?
I did. I'm hoping that's, a sign of some maturity at a lot of positions that are back and coaches and that are back, similar schemes, and us just growing together. It's only the first game. I understand they had some really good players out for them that'll be back, and they're a tremendous team. And so it could have went either way, but it was nice to see us close that out the way we did, having been here last year and losing right there at the end. It was definitely a great feeling to do it in that manner.
Next up, please, Kent Summers, Josh Weinfuss, Tressa Tudrick.
Cliff, what was it like finally, we all knew the stadium would be empty, but what was it like today, and how did you guys approach the questions about the air quality and things circulating before?
It was a bit eerie. Everybody was excited to finally go against somebody else, there's no doubt, and it's awesome to be able to play out there, but it was different for the players. You could definitely tell. It's going to take some getting used to, I think, to draw that adrenaline from somewhere at times when you're usually having that crowd lift you up. But I thought our guys, found a way, and I thought our sideline had great energy, which is something we talked about creating our own because there wasn't going to be any. And the air quality, we monitored it closely. I know Michael was in contact with the commissioner and just making sure everything was on the up and up, and it was, and we played the game.
Hey, Cliff, what did you learn about what DeAndre can bring to this offense throughout this game?
I admired him from afar for a long time. I was at the University of Houston in 2008 through 2011, and so was very familiar with the impact he had on that organization, and just love the way he played the game on Sunday. I mean, he plays with a passion and a toughness, and it's just fun to be around. And so to watch him do that today, I didn't know he was going to go for that many catches, but he got hot, and Kyler and him got in a rhythm, and just excited he's a part of our organization.
Hi, Coach. Congratulations on the win. Just talking about Kyler in particular, year two, how much maturity did you see in him, and just how much damage did he do being able to throw and run on his feet in this particular game?
I don't know if we could have hung around last year. I think that speaks to his maturity, his leadership, being able to hang in there mentally, because it wasn't pretty early. Players are rusty. I was rusty with my play calling, and they did a great job defensively early. But he never batted an eye, made plays with his feet when things weren't going as well as we'd have liked in the passing game. And we all feel like we can be a lot more efficient as an offense, but he continued to make plays when they had to be made. And his teammates, they respect the heck out of him because they know he's going to fight. He's not the biggest guy, but he's going to give them everything they got out there.
Next three, Doug Howler, Bob McMahon, and then Richard Sines.
If you mentioned kind of the slow start, just how much did the block punt by Zeke kind of jolt you guys back into place? That was huge. I thought our special teams overall was phenomenal. We have a great unit. Coach Rogers has done a tremendous job of building that and building that culture in with that group, our core special teams guys. And it wasn't going very good. And Zeke came through, gave us a short field when we were struggling offensively. We were able to punch it in. And then the other, big momentum changer was that goal line stop. I mean, that's a tremendous football team, great offensive line, great play caller, great running backs. And for us to get that stop there and, be able to push it out a little ways and keep it close going into halftime, I think that those two things really helped us win the game.
Cliff, it seemed like Kyler was very patient, even when things weren't operating as smoothly as you'd like in the first half. How important was it for him to keep that patience and composure when take the game on by himself pretty much at times when things weren't going so smooth.
Yeah, I think that's the step we talked about taking was he has the ability to do that, and he knows it. And we weren't that good in the passing game, and I think he'll be the first to admit he wasn't as accurate or as sharp as maybe we'd have liked to be or we can be. But he continued to play hard and continue to find ways to make plays with his feet, and that's a sign of a winner and a guy that the team will play behind. And so this is the most proud I've been of him to date, because that is a tough defense, and you get those monsters coming after you for 4 quarters. It's not easy to sit back there and continue to hang in the pocket, continue to make plays with your feet, and he just kept fighting.
Coach, you kind of talked about, getting off to a good start in the month of September and kind of visualizing that stuff and picturing it. And how nice is it to kind of see this come to fruition, get your first win in the first game of the season, the first opening day win for this team since 2015?
We understand it's just the first game, but anytime you're playing the team that won the NFC last year, that's to come in on the road in a unique stadium, all these different things, to find a way to win. You're hoping that's something you can build off of. And so we understand we have a long way to go. We weren't close to where we need to be to continue to have a chance in these games, but we can build off that because of all the adversity, because of all the situational stuff that we went through. I think it'll help us moving forward.
Next up, Craig Fouie, Nick Kane, Sierra Santos.
Hey, Coach, I just want to talk about the balance in this offense. 404 yards of offense, 180 yards rushing. But when you look at the passing, 40 passing attempts and 36 rushing attempts, that's pretty good balance.
It was not a lot in the first half, but we continued to call stuff and found a way to get some things open. We want to be a balanced attack. We feel like we have dynamic backs. We have dynamic receivers. Kyler's dynamic in himself. So we want to be able to run it and throw it. And our offensive line did a tremendous job. Same deal. I mean, that is a great front for the most part, kept us clean, took a couple sacks, probably could have avoided, but those guys battled.
Cliff, the defense with 2 4th-down stops. I think the goal line one, it looked like it was Devon and Jordan Phillips and Devondre Campbell all in there, all new guys. What did you see differently from the defense from a year ago to now?
Just finding ways to make those big stops, whether it was a 3rd down or a 4th down. Felt like last year we gave some of those up, and this year they made them today, and we got to continue to build it. And I think that's a unit that'll continue to build cohesion with those new pieces you talked about. I mean, these guys are still figuring it out. Drake Kirkpatrick, just got here. You talked about Jordan Phillips, you talked about Devondre, you talked about Isaiah being a young guy. The game will slow down for him. So I think as we go, we're hoping those guys will get a better feel for our defense and what we're trying to accomplish.
It seemed like the defense, or the offense rather, really found its tempo in the second quarter. Do you chalk that up to it just being a slow start in the first game of the season? And do you expect them to be able to come out with that kind of tempo in the next game?
We had planned to start fast and play fast and try to slow down their front. There's no question. And like I said, I think more than anything, it came down to me not calling very good plays early with what they were doing. I didn't adjust quick enough, and it took me a whole quarter to kind of settle in some, and our guys kept battling, and so they kind of bailed me out there. But we want to play faster, start faster, and get in a rhythm earlier than we did today. There's no question.
We have Byron Murphy here, so Catherine Fitzgerald, let's make this the last one, please.
Cliff, with Isaiah Simmons, obviously a rookie without a preseason, natural for him to struggle, but what did you see out of him within the course of this game? And having dealt with, true freshmen, is there anything you could have told him during the game to help there?
I don't think so. I mean, this is a whole different level than when you're a true freshman in college, this jump from high school to college, when you're talking college and NFL. And so there are some things he'll learn. There's no doubt. The speed of the game is so different. I mean, these guys are phenomenal athletes, every one of them, but he is a talented athlete. He's going to work really hard at it, and he's just going to get better and better. And we're going to continue to try and put him in positions to be successful, not having an offseason, not having preseason. I mean, there's a lot of things that go against a guy that is learning that position, but he is very sharp. He works really hard at it, and I expect him to take some big steps in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you all.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, Cliff.
Now, of course, we see a pretty even-keeled Cliff Kingsbury there. I mean, they're 1-0. You're not going to see him jumping up and down, but I imagine this means a whole lot to him because of the fact that the Cardinals were last year missing that final punch, that last punch. And they proved it here today that they're taking those steps forward now in year 2.
And this season, it felt like being competitive wouldn't be good enough. I mean, the expectations have gotten higher, and people are excited about what they can accomplish, but you got to win these close games, and they did a nice job closing it out. Huge win, and Cliff Kingsbury might be understated, but you know he's excited.
All right, now we have Byron Murphy, your bird watch and pregame.
Huge plays at the end of the game.
Here he is at the podium.
Play in the secondary at the end of that game and how important those deflections were.
You know, the end of the game, that's where it always comes down to. Everyone has to lock in and do their job. Like I said, during the end of the game, it makes sure, you know, everyone does their job and everyone just stays focused. That's the biggest keys. Just make sure you relax and finish the game strong. So I just think I'm proud of us as a whole defense, and we just stuck together throughout the whole game.
Hey, Byron, for you personally, how big was it to get a win in week 1 on the road, given all the conditions and then those third down conversion stops and just not allowing their offense to keep the ball rolling like it was in the past?
That was a big thing for us to get this dub. You know, we've been working so hard this offseason, obviously getting some new guys and just, you know, trusting, like I said, just trusting each other, making sure everyone's doing our job. We get the call, make sure that everyone just does their job. You know, like I said, this is a big win for us. You know, this is something that we always work hard for. And, you know, this is just game 1, so we got to keep it going.
Hey, Byron, can you tell us how the decision was made to stay in the locker room during the anthem and why?
Yes, sir. That was, you know, we came together as a team. We all talked. We all had our own opinions about everything that was going on. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, but as a team, you know, we all got to be one. You know, no individual, nothing like that. So we were at practice, came together, huddled up, just players. You know, we just had a conversation. Anyone that wanted to put their input, they put their input. But came together, made that conclusion. We just stuck to it.
Next up, Catherine Fitzgerald, Cam Cox, Nick King.
Hey, Byron, can you take us through what you were seeing on that last play to kind of seal the deal from the defense?
Last play, I just knew it was going to be a passing down. So once we got the call, you just had to lock into your keys. You had to play my leverage. Everyone on the defense had to play their leverage, and the ball came and just made a play. So just excited to be able to make that play when the ball came.
Hey, Byron, you and I have talked before about last year and how difficult it was at times. As someone who went through it every game last year, how gratifying is it for the defense to make the play to win the game with the game on the line?
You know, last year, like you said, you had mentioned to me, you know, a lot of things was pretty fast. You know, this is year 2, so kind of got experience under my belt. Everything's kind of slowing down. But like I said, we have new guys, new roles in this team, and whatever role that, you know, that I have or someone else has, we just got to make sure we stick to each other, stick with each other, and just keep working.
Byron, as the Niners are driving down there on that last possession, what was the confidence level like, and what was the talk like on the defense?
You know, we came to the sideline, we came together, we just knew we had to get one more stop to win this game. Everyone just, you know, energy was great. That's one thing that, you know, I kept trying to, you know, make sure my energy was good, but the sideline energy was good as a team. We just had great energy. But coming to that drive, you know, we just knew we had to get one stop. Unfortunately, we got some plays that we obviously want to take back, but we got that stop, and that's all that matters. So we just want to just keep our energy, stick together, like I said.
Next up, Howard Balzer and Sierra Santos.
Hey, Byron, how important has it been to settle in to your role, and with Drake Kirkpatrick coming after Robert got hurt, and for you to be able to settle in your role with him out there now on the field too?
Yes, sir. Always, you know, you always got to be ready for something to happen. You know, it's always carrying the flag. So whatever happens, you got to be ready for the next position. So whatever role I get, whatever role we get, anyone on the defensive side, I know we're going to be ready. You know, just got to stick with each other, like I said, and just keep working from here on out.
Congrats on the win. Similar to what Cam was asking you about how gratifying it is, comparing this defense to last year, now that you've been in a game situation, how much different does it feel?
I would say it feels a lot different. You know, we have new guys, so a lot of stuff, a lot of, you know, trust has to be there. I just think, you know, that last year kind of everything was going fast. This year, you're kind of slowing down, seeing more things. Having that experience would give me a better chance to see stuff that I didn't see last year. So, like I said, I just think as a whole defense, I just think everything, you know, keeping our leverage, doing the little small details is going to help us. And we just got to keep working.
All right, we're wrapping up with the last 2, Craig Fouie, Catherine Fitzgerald.
Hey, Byron, I'm just curious, what was it like playing without fans in the stands?
You know, it was different. You know, that was really, I would say, kind of weird. But like I said, my teammates as a whole group, we just brought that energy. The sideline was hyped the whole game. We were in the locker room. You know, everyone was, the energy was just great. You know, I'll just say with no fans, like I said, that was just a different feeling. But like I said, it's us versus them. So that was a great thing, great communication. You can't hear anything, no outside noise. So I think that was a good thing.
Byron, you talk so much about how
And I called you Kyler. I knew that was going to happen at least one time throughout the
Similar talent levels.
Kyle. Obviously, it's important to see Byron Murphy have such a great start to 2020. I believe, you know, his reps last year going through the ebbs and flows as a rookie, but with Robert Alford going down, needed him to step up.
Yeah, this pass defense was pretty poor last season, and that was the big issue, and they got that figured out. And having Byron Murphy, having Patrick Peterson playing well on the outside, I thought Dre Kirkpatrick had a nice game. That's really key. If the Cardinals can make sure the pass defense is a lot better than it was last season, seems like a lot of things across the board have improved, pass defense being a big one.
All right, let's head up to the booth with the guys who had today's call, Dave Pasch and Ron Wolfley. Guys, things started a little slow, obviously, but they settled in nicely. What are your major takeaways from today's victory?
I'll let you start, big guy. Go ahead.
You know what, honestly, the fact they won a game right now, everybody knows the Arizona Cardinals was the talk of the offseason, guys, for the most part, right? I thought the Cardinals were the Cleveland Browns of 2019's offseason. Everybody seemed to look at Kyler Murray. Oh, he's going to be an MVP candidate, and maybe he will be an MVP candidate. The Arizona Cardinals could be a playoff team. They got so much love in this offseason. And then to be able to come out and play against this team in their stadium, this very physical team, defending NFC champion, you go out and you beat them in their stadium. This is a great way to start the season and a huge win for the Cardinals.
You know, guys, I felt going into the year that the Cardinals were going to be elite offensively. They had to be at least average defensively, and they had to make some plays on special teams. Last year, we know they were last in total defense. They didn't block a kick last year, and they were the second most penalized team on special teams last year. Well, how about this year? Defensively, pretty good, especially down the stretch. They gave up one big play. That was it against this offense. Special teams changed the game. Block kick, next play you get a touchdown. If that play doesn't happen, who knows what happens in this game, because they were down 10-0. That totally changed momentum.
Such a more complete team, it looks like, this season. And going back to the offense, Wolf, DeAndre Hopkins is obviously an all-pro receiver, but we didn't know exactly what he would look like in his very first game. Great game for him. What were your impressions of DeAndre Hopkins?
He's everything, Kyle, we thought he was going to be, right? Just a guy that was going to run great routes, and he was going to get targeted an awful lot. You could see what the 49ers' plan was basically on the backside. Once you'd have a trips formation or sometimes even a quad formation, 4 wide receivers, DeAndre Hopkins was the sole receiver, the X-receiver, away from that. They played a safety over the top. They'd play man. They played press man, man off. They tried to do a lot of different things against D-Hop with a safety over the top. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Arizona Cardinals got a little bit better in the second half, executing offensively. I thought Kyler Murray was a little off in that first half, looked a little rusty, and it's totally understandable why he would look that way. But I thought in the second half they got a lot better, and I think one of the reasons why is they could anticipate how the 49ers were going to try to take away DeAndre Hopkins, and I think that made him a little bit more predictable.
Defensively, we saw a lot of different personnel and packages. Early on, Isaiah Simmons sighting. And, you know, he had the ebbs and flows of a rookie. What did you think, Pasch, about his debut as a Cardinal?
Well, obviously it wasn't good, but, you know, for assuming that second touchdown was on him, which we don't know for sure, but it certainly looked like that. Obviously, the Mostert catch and run, you know, was a mistake by him. And then he also had the horse collar mistake on that opening drive. But to not have any preseason games, to not get any live reps for however long it's been since he last played a game, going back to the national championship, and then you're playing on the road against the NFC champs. You're playing in front of no fans. He's used to playing in Death Valley, at Clemson, where a place is nuts. And now you're playing in a totally stale environment, so you have to completely motivate yourself the entire game. He's probably a little nervous first NFL game. I think we got to cut the kid a little slack. It wasn't good, but hopefully it's just 1 week. I think he's got enough confidence in himself, and I know that the coaches and his teammates have confidence in him. They'll just say, Isaiah, look, don't worry about it, man. It's week 1. You're going to be fine. We drafted you where we did for a reason. We felt you were a steal then. We still feel it even after week 1, and I think he'll be fine.
Wolf, and looking forward, how much weight do you put on this game? I know it's only 1, but it's a season opener after they added a lot of pieces, and it looks pretty good overall. Do you ratchet up the expectations because of the way they played in this opener?
I don't know how you don't, honestly. It was kind of a situation, Kyle, where I think coming into this game, there was really nothing but upside. Unless the Arizona Cardinals came in here and just laid an egg, did not even compete, weren't even in the game, I think most people would say, okay, you went and you played the NFC champion, you played them in their stadium, and we all knew it was going to be a very tough place for you to walk away and actually get a win, but you played them well, you played them tight, you played them tough, right? I think the Arizona Cardinals and the hype around the Cardinals would have continued. The fact that you went in and beat them in their stadium, I think this is now a huge calling card for the leadership inside that locker room now to take over and try to keep people focused, right? I think they've got to stay balanced this year as an offense in order to do well. I think they got to play physically in all 3 phases, offensively, defensively, and in transition. But more than anything, guys, I think they have to stay focused. Now with all the hype, as I was saying, week 1, you beat the defending NFC champions, the 49ers. Can you imagine the hype now that is going to be surrounding them? You've got to stay focused or you're doomed.
Hey, bring it. This is great. Keep it up. Hype it up even more. We need this in 2020. Give us the distraction of having the Cardinals be the most talked about team in the league through week 1.
Yeah, but you better have leadership, David, inside that locker room to actually handle that situation.
They do.
Or all of a sudden they're going to start walking around like you walk around the broadcast booth.
All right, guys, great job calling today's game given the circumstances. Thanks for joining us here. Safe drive home, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good, Lisa. Thanks, Kyle.
See you guys next week. All right, one final look at the score here. Cardinals get the victory 24-20, a huge confidence booster for this Cardinals team. Let's take a look here at scores around the league before we head to some more press conferences as the guys get ready, before they get ready to board that plane back home here.
And now, the Seahawks did a nice job against the Falcons, 38 points. Obviously, Russell Wilson had a really nice game. And the Cardinals, like Wolf was saying, the expectations are now raising. It's only been 1 game, but when you do that against the 49ers, it's not a pipe dream to think that this team can compete in the division, and you've already got a victory head-to-head over San Francisco. Seattle's obviously a very good team. The Rams are a solid team. How can the Cardinals continue to compete? And knowing that you look at the playoffs, there's going to be 7 teams this season. It's early, I get it, but it certainly seems realistic for the Cardinals to be in that chase.
The NFC West, toughest division, definitely in the league. Would you say that the 49ers are still the team to go through?
I mean, they're right there, but I think they're deep. I think Jimmy Garoppolo was a little bit too up and down in this game, and he's kind of shown that throughout his career that, he's not an elite quarterback. There are games when he's okay, and there's games where he's good. So I think when you have a guy like Kyler Murray, when you have a guy like Russell Wilson, having an elite quarterback is so important, and Kyler Murray's not quite there yet, but you just see all the tools, and you saw the decision-making today where he wasn't forcing the ball down the field. He wasn't taking a bunch of sacks. All the issues he had early on last season, he didn't have those mental mistakes in this game. So I think he'll tell you he doesn't think he played great in this game, but you look at the stats, and he had basically 100 yards rushing. He got those huge passes, DeAndre Hopkins. That's why I feel like really it could be a 4-team race.
Let's take a look once again at the highlights, how the Cardinals got the victory here in week 1. Here's again that block by Ezekiel Turner. Captain Gardeck with the recovery. He's just been just a spark plug for this team.
Huge help.
Chase Edmonds with the touchdown, diving there at the pylon. Again, don't forget about Chase Edmonds.
The Cardinals needed that. I mean, down 10-0, it seemed like the offense was struggling a little bit. The defense was having some issues, and you wondered, are they going to stay in this game? Then they get that score, and then it's hard to overstate how important that fourth down goal line stop was. The 49ers were aggressive going for it, fourth down from the 1, and Devon Kennard, Devondre Campbell, 2 free agent additions, came up huge getting that stop.
And Jordan Phillips, I believe, was up in there too.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are, 10-13. Cliff calling it up. Let's go. Let's get a little Russ action here. Kyler Murray, 22-yard rushing touchdown. He had so many moments this game, Kyle, where I couldn't believe it. Let him loose.
Yeah, I don't know if he realized something defensively, but he just started running and running a lot, and it really changed the game. And you thought the Cardinals had control, and then the 49ers come right back down, get the touchdown, and then the Cardinals answer. A frenetic fourth quarter, but this DeAndre Hopkins play was probably the play of the game.
It went back and forth to the wire. Then, of course, that stop. Well, we finished it up, obviously, with this Kenyon Drake touchdown. And then this stop here.
Yeah, great read by Byron Murphy, a guy that if he can become a really good player at outside corner or slot corner, I mean, you go from a pass defense that was a weakness, maybe now it's a strength, and yeah, they're celebrating. That's a huge win.
I love the reaction there. They
they're
gotta
excited.
get creative. Even though there's no one there, they're going to be playing it up with one another.
You know, they don't care that there's no fans in the stands. They're loving it.
I did see the cheerleaders in the stands, though, and I was wondering who are they cheering for here?
It's for each other, I guess. But I thought Cliff Kingsbury made an interesting point when he was kind of hard on himself for calling poor plays early on, and he did that a lot last year. He never puts it on the players. He said, no, if the offense is struggling, it's on me. I'm not making the right calls, and he called a pass play the first 9 calls of the game, and the Cardinals did not move the ball very well early. They started incorporating the run more, and it's hard to know from our standpoint what kind of corrections he made, but it certainly seems like Cliff Kingsbury figured something out, and he's such an innovative offensive mind that you give him enough time, and if Kyler Murray has protection, you're pretty confident it's going to come together nicely.
Well, you can look at last season, opening up things against the Lions. That first quarter, almost similar, trying to get things started. I think almost too much time for Kingsbury to draw up plays. Once he got hired on as the Cardinals head coach, he was, you already know, looking at tape, making up plays for that debut. Again, here with the offseason that we've had, I only imagine he was in his office every day trying to figure out, already had the game plan set way before the start of the season.
And they're making progress because last year it took about 3 quarters for them to get going, and then in the fourth against the Lions, they were great. This time it only took 1 quarter where they struggled, and then the offense started getting going. And in the second half, it was just humming against a defense that is so good. I think that's the big key is the Cardinals didn't do this against a subpar defensive unit. The 49ers have probably the best pass rush in the NFL. They got a really good secondary. The Cardinals made them look very mediocre in that third and fourth quarter, and that's something I think they can really build on.
And as Pash and Ron also talked about, it was those special team plays, that blocked kick. They didn't have a block kick in 2019 at all, and then to see that, it just kind of helped them rejuvenate there.
And when you have a good team, all those sort of things just help. A couple years ago, the Cardinals needed special teams plays in order to win the game, and now it just helps them furthermore because the personnel is there. And you look at the total yardage, outgaining the 49ers after a very rough start, and the fact that they were able to do that, 29 first downs compared to 18, basically across the board, they are superior. Kyler Murray did have the 1 interception, but it was a smart read.
Yes.
The guy was open. It was a tip pass, like you said, so not much to be critical of besides the early hiccups.
Yeah, definitely more of a balance once the day ended there. And it does take 3 phases of the game. Like I said, we experienced that last year where sometimes the defense wasn't able to meet the level of the offense or vice versa, special teams. We finally saw a complete game. towards the end of that, I feel.
Yeah, and I think a credit to Steve Keim for making all these signings in free agency on the defensive front. And a guy like Jordan Phillips made his presence known. He almost had a sack late. Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo got away from him, but we've talked about Kennard and Campbell. And yeah, Isaiah Simmons had his problems in the first game, and we'll see what he looks like as the season goes on. But it just felt like this is just a deeper football team this year. Last year, there were a lot of strengths, guys like Kyler Murray and Budda Baker and Chandler Jones, but there were some pretty fine weaknesses on this team, and it ended up a 5-win season. Now you have your stars, but the rest of the guys, there's a lot more depth. There's a lot more playmakers.